सत्यजीत को मार दिया।
अशीम
कैमरा मुंह में, गोली सर में।
और
अशीम
गाय उसका क्या हुआ?
Ashim, this is what I'm talking about. You get lost in these tandoori westerns. You get into this trance, and all this time is passing by. How are we going to get you into a good high school, a good college, if this is how you spend your time? And we know you're doing this when we're not here. This is yesterday, when you said you were studying. We've put your old nanny cam up because we're worried about how you're spending your time and that you're losing focus. If you do only what you want to do, you're never going to find a place in this world. I know you're making good grades in school, but we want you to spend extra time on the math exercises and the English exercises we have for you. See, you have it easy, Ashim, okay? Let me tell you this.
This type of parenting is not at all conducive to the development of a mature, self-possessed adult. The transition to independent, autonomous action and the moral responsibility that goes with it doesn't happen overnight. It is a long process, and it must be allowed to occur naturally. The use of this
kind of invasive interference by an outside expert in parenting is another example of the overreach of the secular humanist establishment. When parents do need help, they need look only to the Bible. God's word is clear and can be accessed by anyone.
This clinging to a dogmatic and vengeful image of God is nothing more than an attempt to remain forever subservient to an authoritarian parent figure whose only real usefulness is to absolve us of all moral responsibility. We're right.
Mon Dieu. Ce débat sur le fait qu'on soit libre ou pas, ou qu'on ait des comptes à rendre à quelque autorité spirituelle, atteint des sommets de masturbation intellectuelle. Les plus essentielles et belles qualités de la vie sont celles qu'on trouve dans ces moments quotidiens qui sont les plus simples. Dieu, s'il existe, se trouve dans l'immobilité, le mouvement et l'abandon.
Este pequeño perrito no sabe absolutamente nada sobre el martirio del mundo o el sufrimiento de las masas. Su mirada indulgente no puede justificar las atrocidades por las cuales la mayoría de la gente vive en la actualidad. El mundo está en llama por la represión y injusticia.
This kind of advocacy for a forced altruism is the expression of one of the most dangerous, most misguided philosophies to emerge in modern times. A state which steals from the strong who have gathered wealth unto themselves through their own effort in order to give that wealth to the weak is at odds with man's most fundamental native vitality. The pursuit of man's own happiness is the moral purpose of his life, achievement his greatest, noblest activity. A man should exist for his own sake, neither sacrificing himself to
I guess for me the point of this film is that no system of thought encompasses all of life. And any given philosophy tends to discount other points of view.
Robert Bruce Towne's self-indulgent exercise in experimental filmmaking is hardly a story at all. It doesn't return to itself or answer itself in any way. It would seem to be an attempt by Mr. Towne to realize his oft-professed adolescent ambition to say everything at once.
See, I don't think this movie is so clever. Why is everybody criticizing everybody else? And why does he begin with me? See, I come from a culture where we recognize the unity in this illusion of duality. And all this criticism is just all a part of samsara, the whirlpool of worldly conditions.
Is nothing more than an attempt to escape God's word and his judgment.
Qui sont les plus simples. Dieu, s'il existe, se trouve dans l'immobilité, le mouvement et la lumière.
Father, as the voice of authority, the voice of society, he is the bringer of law and of language to a very young child. He is like a god.
To stand up and assume the autonomous posture of one who acts on his or her own judgment.
Ser tan tonto y tener el tiempo para contemplar la honestidad en un pozo negro.
And although involving a critic in the movie is amusing for the moment, it cannot save this ultimately mortal idea from its inevitable descent into decay and death.
Or try to let themselves off the hook with a modern idea that there are no moral absolutes and that no one is watching. They will find themselves caught up short.
Y la filosofía cuando la riqueza del mundo se contesta y entre todas las personas.
It tends to strip the child of his personhood. It reduces the child's actions, statements, and desires to mere symptoms of a more generic problem or syndrome. It has long been recognized since the early...
For when we pick up and wield this freedom that we've been trying to avoid, we feel the weight of responsibility for our actions. And we realize...
Le divin n'est pas mis en évidence par l'objet du monde qui nous entoure, mais par l'expérience qu'on a de cet objet, qui chemine entre nous et l'objet en question. Ces mots incessants ne font que nous distraire et nous tiennent éloignés.
It gets to the point where somebody else's entire frame of reference becomes just one point of reference within your frame of reference.
Bob, are we still...
It just becomes arrogant, and self-centered. It's there's a school of thought that even a camera, the subjectivity of any camera,
into decay and death. Both the audience and Mr. Towne learn soon enough that simply riffing on an idea does not a story make. He was probably just trying to get laid.
Well, I'm not going to let this guy get the last word here. I mean, somebody who makes a living out of having an opinion, somebody who never even moved a lamp to help the film get made. And look, I started with Ashim and Pop in order to give the film some shape. I mean, I know...
It's a stereotype that every Indian is working all the time and is so serious. And I want Ashim to have fun too and enjoy being a boy. After he's done his math exercises and his English exercises and his...
मार दिया कैमरा मुंह में गोली सर में
और सुभाष गाय उसका क्या हुआ?
उसकी भी फट गई
सीपी आर के चोपड़ा
सर
अब और 3
खलास